Yeah, I'll be honest. I listened to like 2 episodes. It's a decent podcast. We're recording now as of 5 seconds ago. Welcome to HASSDISCUSSES. We got Tommy who?
Lombardozzi is how you say the name.
Okay, I didn't want to say it. I had to have you say it.
You don't want to butcher it. I get you. It's pretty phonetic. It's pretty much as it's written. But I appreciate you asking before you went along and fucked it up. I could curse here, right? Yeah, I could curse. Yeah.
Oh no, we're not a Christian radio show. Sometimes I accidentally tune into them because like there's a certain radio frequency where it has the classical music, and the classical music and the Christian channels are right next to each other. And
so depending on where you are that day, you get one channel or the other.
Yeah, it's yeah, you know how it is. They also have a Frank Sinatra channel that was pretty good.
That's cool. Yeah. That's what when I was a kid, like that's what my grandfather had on in the car. It wasn't just Frank Sinatra, but it was all that music from the 30s, 40s, some of the 50s. It was great. It was WNEW here in New York, and it would be you'd get in his car and you'd be transported back to the fucking 40s. It was awesome, and I remember it to this day.
Like Bronx Tale type thing, like Bronx Tale, but when he's a kid.
Yeah, but that was a lot of doo-wop and stuff. This was more like, like post, like World War II, like big
late
band
40s.
Music. Yeah, like even early 40s. Just really cool Harry James and Sinatra, Duke Ellington, like all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so we were telling me
really
about
awesome.
Speaking of radio, we were kind of talking about how the show kind of evolved from being done over the phone into like Zoom stuff. So like how would you say your show has evolved?
Oh, it hasn't.
It hasn't.
So
damn, I think it's evolved.
We don't use the video. We record video because we do it on Zoom. So we record it as a backup just in case something happens, but we don't ever use the video. I don't want to look at my face, like your listeners are going to look at this and be like, oh, I got to tune out, So,
hey, come on,
so
don't say that, man.
I don't like to use the video. I also feel like I was telling you, generally when I listen to podcasts, I listen to them while I'm doing something else. So whether it be driving or sitting and drawing, because I'm an artist, so I'll be at my desk. I can't really watch things. So a lot of podcasts that are video only or they release video content, I don't ever really watch it. I'll watch clips, like I said, on Instagram here and there. I'll watch like the 1-minute clips, sometimes little reel clips. But I just don't have the time to watch an hour's worth of video.
So you're real like consuming content on the go type of thing. So like your favorite forms of content. Let me guess. Your favorite forms of content are music and podcasts. Is that what I'd assume?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. What else is there really?
Yeah. So let's introduce your show. So you're a co-host of a podcast called The Hoof with Chris.
Yeah, The Hoof. Yes.
Lodando, or however you say his name.
Chris Lodando, yeah.
Lodando. So before this podcast started, did you ever do a trial run in terms of starting content creating? Like what other form of content did you make before The Hoof?
Well, I have another show that I've been doing since 2017 with my friend Mike. It's called Jacked Kirby, and that's a comic book related podcast. But
nice.
Yeah, unlike other comic book related shows, though, this is actually fun and funny. Like we love Jack Kirby. He created the Marvel Universe and so much more. If people don't know, Stan Lee gets all the credit, but Jack was the guy doing the work.
Yeah.
And so this is a show like a love letter to him. So we explore all of his work and also how his work informs other pop culture. We have comic book industry folks on the show. We have our friends on the show. And we also tell our own funny stories and anecdotes and not safe for work, tales and whatnot,
That's what I like about Jack Kirby is the fact that he did DC stuff as well. Like he really had so many different forms. Like I have a book over there, like a one of those little biography books, but it's more of like an art related biography book, like where it shows a lot of his like. It's more of like a explanation of like. It's real visual. It's not like a mass market paperback. Where like he was born in this. Then I forget.
You know the name?
I mean, I might walk
over the King of Comics or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And it's about
that was one of the. That's about like 12 or 13 years old, maybe a little more actually. But yeah, it's obviously it's all visual because that's what he did, you know.
Yeah, and I love comic books as well because and I don't get into them as much as I used to because I used to have a comic book YouTube channel 2015, 2016, and I'd do little vlogs and me going to a comic book store and I'd like it was just like so much fun and stuff, and I'd show like the new collection I have, the new item I got. Like I'll show you right now, Wolverine #1.
Oh, cool. Frank Miller.
Like look at that.
Which one is it?
Wolverine #1.
Miller. Awesome.
Like the 4-part series from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Let me put that shit back up.
Frank Miller and Chris Miller,
dude. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I have one of the, the 4-part series Dark Knight Returns. I have one of them over there. I have like the third issue. Framed up, yeah.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, that's good stuff, man. It's strange, like nowadays being a comic book. How old are you, Mike? You're young. I think you're younger than me.
I'm 17.
What are you? How old?
17.
17? You're 17?
Yeah, why?
Oh shit. I didn't think you were that young. That's crazy. I think you're at least in your 20s. God bless, man. Yeah, so you're a fucking kid. So I'm an old man compared to you. You could be my son. That's how old.
I mean, I'm just still. I don't like limitations. Like I love the old comic book stuff, but like nobody. It's weird to find people who are really into that stuff because a lot of the comics people my demographic would be into is like Japanese comics. That's
manga
huge.
And stuff like that.
That's huge. Like I'm talking kids
crazy.
have like 60 like things, like 60 trade paper, I don't know, mangas, and they have them like that go across their like wall, and it's like shit, like that's a lot.
It's a big thing. I never got into that when I was really into comics, when I was younger than you, when I was collecting like steadily. That was just coming in. So I was in high school and manga just started to become popular. And that's kind of when I stopped collecting. But I've always bought comics throughout my life. But trades, collections. Like I never followed month to month. Nowadays I do with certain issues, certain titles. But it's something that Mike and I have grown up with. We love. And it's also a way to kind of teach younger generations like yourself about Jack Kirby and what he did for the industry, like all these movies and whatnot.
50 years DC, from when he created it. It's like
more
billions.
So, yeah. I mean, Fantastic Four was the first Marvel comic, and that started in 1961. So I'm bad at math, but that's like 60 years ago, something like that.
Yeah, dude. It's like, shit, we're in the 2020s. I forgot.
Yeah, 2021. So
shit. Yeah, dude. Like
if I was good at math, I could figure it out, but I guess 60 years ago, yeah.
60, yeah, like.
But
it's just the fact that it maintained those characters that he created with Stan, maintained the relevancy past like being regularly produced. Yes, but like now I'm not saying I hate like the new comics. They don't have that much traction, but they're still being adapted, and that's what's cool about it. It's like people doing like a Last Christmas cover. Or something like that.
Well, that's terrible. It's really awesome when you think about like these characters that were created basically for kids by these middle-aged men so many years ago. I mean, fucking Batman's about 80 years old, something like that. That they're still today like beloved, and they're making movies and TV shows about this shit. And so, Mike and I do that show and we get on there and we talk about these old characters, how they relate to new characters, what's going on in pop culture as far as like what Jack Kirby influenced. And there's never nothing to talk about. Like we always have stuff to talk about, and again we have guests come on and stuff. It's really cool.
I'm scared of when like the society is like done with and they find these ancient comic books and think that's how we lived.
Yeah,
like that.
Exactly.
I wish I was alive for like an alien to find a comic book and be like, this is how it was. Like there is giant galactic monsters.
Robots and guys.
Like I bet this might be like barred off as like a scary, dangerous zone because of the history of giant invaders in the scriptures. Like,
yeah, why not?
That's probably what's gonna happen. Like, do you really think they're gonna like look at a TV and think that people popped up on the TV and stuff like that? I mean, maybe they might. That's like the type of shit that like I think about. I don't know why.
You could start writing it down. Write a movie.
Yeah, about aliens discovering the remnants of the American civilization.
Why the fuck not?
We might be coming up with like a movie idea on a podcast.
I know,
just like
right?
Kevin Smith did. Just like Kevin Smith did.
Oh, with Tusk? Yeah.
Do you like that movie? That's real divisive.
I like it. Yeah, you know what? I really like it, and I think it's creepy up until the part when Johnny Depp's character is introduced. Then it takes like a weird comedic turn. And I think that was a great character, and he's really good in that role, and he's funny. But in the context of that movie, I thought he was kind of out of place. Because up until then, it's really like fucking creepy,
I feel like it was a cool movie about karma.
About karma? Yeah.
Like how he's like making fun of the people, or like,
of course, yeah,
the kid, and then he like just like the effects of like talking too much shit.
how you treat other people, yeah, of course.
Exactly. Like I feel like when I watched it, I was like, dang, who hurt you, Kevin Smith? In a way. But tell me about, like, if you were to recommend the Hoof to somebody, what would you say about the show? Like, if you were to recommend
right now we're taking a little bit of a break because we've recorded every week for 71 weeks straight, and for about 2 months over the summer, we were doing 2 episodes a week when everybody was on lockdown, and we were like, fuck it, let's create some content for people, We were having a lot of guests. We got a little political, which I don't really like to do, but during the summer it was hard to not, have those kind of conversations. So the thing that I like about it is that it's real, like it's funny, and we kind of talk about our lives and stuff, but it's also like we're not holding back as far as our opinions, like we want people to kind of, for me anyway, like I can't speak for Chris, but I know for me, unlike the Jack Kirby show that I do, the appeal of doing this show was that it wasn't about anything specific. So kind of like your show where you have different types of guests on that do different types of thing. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this show. Like have different people from all walks of life, different creative people, talk about what they do, what influences them, and just talk about it straight up like New York style, like we talk, That was the thing that I wanted to really push with the show. And I feel like we have, but we're just taking a little bit of a break. Chris is dealing with a lot on his end, and it was falling on me to do a lot of stuff. And I was like, let's just take a break until we can both kind of do it together again. And so that we're just taking a little break. Shouldn't be too long, but just want a little breather,
Yeah, like there's a real personal element to the show, but there's also a moment where like you'll bring Brian O'Halloran on, and I love those episodes, like the Joseph D'Onofrio or whatever.
D'Onofrio,
I love that episode. That's the first episode I heard, by the way, because it was like
cool.
It was like hashtag Goodfellas, and I was going to
ask you how you found. Yeah, how did you find us?
I followed hashtag Goodfellas or something.
Oh, cool.
And then I saw like the interview, and I saw the post about you interviewing him, and I was like, oh, that's like young Joe Pesci character. Yeah. And I was like, because I love Scorsese films. I feel like it's not too. Like hard to. Let me think. I got like.
You got stuff back there?
I got stuff. I got a lot of Scorsese DVDs and stuff. I got.
Yeah, me too, man. That's my favorite director since I was. Nice. They filmed that at my friend's bar.
Really?
The Irish Haven, yeah.
Yeah.
The scene with
I love that
cranberry
movie,
juice
The Departed,
and stuff.
And like, there's so many references to like The Departed in the music I listen to. Like, Lil Wayne said, "Word to Marky Mark, leave a snitch departed." I just love that shit. But and it's just like Scorsese's like how do I say it? He's been so relevant in cinema since like the fucking 60s, 70s, man, or 70s. Yeah, I mean mainstream since the 70s, but making stuff since the 60s. Like in 1960, he didn't know how to use a camera, I guess, probably. But like now it's like, I feel like I go up to someone and I'm like, so you like Martin Scorsese? And you're like, who? But then I tell them a movie he's made, and they're like, oh, he made all of them movies, man. Like, oh, snap.
Yeah. So many. I mean, you could take Goodfellas, Raging Bull, and Taxi Driver alone, and those are mainstays of cinema, modern cinema. You know, and now on top of that, you have a ton of other great movies, you know, like The Departed, Mean Streets, which is one of my favorites, Cape Fear, you know, like so many great things he's done over the years, and they range from being huge, like The Aviator or Gangs of New York, to being really kind of small, like
Mean Streets.
Mean Streets, or what's the one with Griffin Dunn? Where he's like, where the guy, he's trapped. Oh shit! I can't think of the guy. After Hours. Yeah, I'm sorry, I couldn't think of the name.
So like something. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, he's always, you know, since I was a kid, since I was aware of movies, he's always been my favorite, and not just because I loved Goodfellas and like gangster movies, because I think he offers more than that, you know.
And he's well respected by the indie film fans, but also he's respected by the mainstream huge cinema fans who are like into,
of course,
the new like everybody. I don't know a lot of people that like hate Wolf of Wall Street. I mean, there is a specific crowd.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
There's a specific crowd who's probably gets offended by a couple things in the movie, but they're mainly just like, you know, that type of person who
is gonna get offended anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, you know, like like, let's say if they watch like a I don't know, like a dirty, like just, and you know, just that type of people. Anyways, but like bringing out like an indie film fan would love Bringing Out the Dead. You know,
yeah, Bringing Out the Dead is another like one of the smaller ones, quote unquote. Yeah.
Yes,
great movie, and again underrated because I feel like it came and went. But if you watch it, it's like, this is a fucking masterpiece. Like, this is so well done.
Paul Schrader, you know? Shouts out to Paul Schrader, dude. Like, he's pretty much on the level of Scorsese in terms of not on the terms of directing, because he kind of directs every now and then, but like the writing, he still is relevant. He's still like relevant in terms of like writing, because he got the first Reformed one that came out a couple of years ago with Ethan Hawke or something like that, and
I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either, but like I heard it's pretty like respected and stuff like that. So
yeah, I mean, Paul Schrader's been around as long as Scorsese's been around. He's not as well known, obviously, but you know, the guys, obviously, because of Taxi Driver, they're always going to be linked. But Paul Schrader has done so much good stuff on his own, you know,
so,
as a writer and a director.
The Hoof, okay, comes from a reference to and
a line in Goodfellas.
A line in Goodfellas. So I assume you're a big fan of Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
So
for a long
I got a good
time,
question about him.
Go ahead.
What's your favorite Robert De Niro What's your favorite Robert De Niro movie not directed by Scorsese?
By Scorsese? Oh, there's a lot of good ones. I really love the movie Night in the City. Do you know that movie? So it's a remake of a movie from the 50s, I believe. And it came out, I think, 92. It's a great role for De Niro. It's a kind of a comedic movie. Joe D'Onofrio's in it as well. We talked about that when we had him on. And it's directed by Irwin Winkler. If you know, he was a producer. Yeah. He produced Rocky and Goodfellas and all this other shit.
Yeah.
And he actually directed this movie. And it's a really great role for him, where he plays this lawyer, like this kind of shyster lawyer that, you know, has big dreams. And so his dream is to get into boxing. So he wants to be a boxing promoter. And it's basically, the movie is him trying to put together his first boxing event with all of these other kind of elements against him. So it's him hustling and trying to work all these angles to try to get himself to that, you know, to this successful position. I don't want to give too much away about the movie, but it's an excellent role for De Niro, one of my favorite De Niro roles. Not a movie that gets talked about a lot. Great cast. Jessica Lange, Alan King is the nemesis. Jack Warden. I think 92. I saw it in the movies, and I think it was 92, maybe 93, but I think it was 92. So I would recommend that movie to anybody. That's a really good New York movie, like shot here. Excellent De Niro role. So I that comes to mind right away, so I would choose that one.
Yeah, I got a non-Scorsese.
What about you? You got
De Niro movie. Yeah, I got one. Once Upon a Time in America, Sergio Leone.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
The no, but the 4-hour cut, not the 2.5-hour cut. The 4-hour European cut is I haven't cried that badly since watching Titanic the first time, and Titanic doesn't really make me cry that much anymore, because like you're really desensitized after crying.
Yeah,
you're really desensitized to like crying for movies, but then like watching just Once Upon a Time in America, dude, that really hits the emotions, man, and especially as sort of how do I put this? Like the romance is the best part of the movie.
I think it's like the friendships, like
the friendships, the relationships in the movie. Like it's not about the killing and murder and gangster shit most of the time. It's about how that affects the relationships.
Yes.
And it really strays people apart from each other, and also I like movies that really capture an era. That's why I like Casino a lot.
Yeah,
like it captures an era of like, it showed how the casino industry changed, and also how how the mob came in and out. Sort of, it's like in and out story about how they were really involved, and then they came out in a casino, and then in Once Upon a Time in America, it just shows like the whole Prohibition era that's not really touched upon that much anymore,
No.
I mean, they tried to with Capone, but...
Yeah, I didn't see Capone, but there was that movie that Ben Affleck did a couple of years ago.
Live by Night.
Live by... Did you like that movie?
I haven't seen it.
I thought it was really good. It wasn't perfect, but it was a really cool, like you're saying, period piece about that time, that Prohibition time. And he's really good in it, Ben Affleck, and it's a really good movie. It's definitely worth watching. I feel like it either could have been a little longer and stuff could have been like detailed a little better, or it needed to be a little shorter. You know what I mean? Like either or would have benefited the movie, but it's really good. And if you like that kind of period piece drama, gangster drama, it's definitely worth watching. It's kind of sad, like it's got some good stuff in it. I would recommend it. I'm a big movie fan. Initially the Hoof started, or Chris's initial idea was to do a movie review podcast, but I didn't want to do that because the show that I do with Mike, the Jack Kirby show, is kind of like, we don't really review comics, but we definitely do a lot of research, and we read books that we talk about, and we have to do a lot of kind of research to get the facts right. And I didn't want to take on that kind of responsibility again for another show. And like I mentioned, I also kind of wanted to have a show where we could kind of talk about everything.
Yeah, that's so we got away channel started from as that. Is a movie review channel. Like all I did was review movies.
Yeah, and then I've seen them up there. Yeah.
And then I found a love for interviewing. It's like this, just seeing who people are in person. Well, you're not in person, but
I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like conversing with them is it's really different. Like when you're a fan of somebody for a while and you interact with them, it's like really weird in a cool way.
Yeah. Surreal.
Also, yes.
But I mean, so on the Hoof anyway, we've had like Brian Johnson on, who from Tell Him Steve Dave, and he's Kevin Smith's buddy, and he was on Comic Book Man, the TV show. So this is a guy that I've known for years, not known personally, but I've known his work. He's a writer as well. He's written a bunch of comic books. He's written a movie, directed that movie. I forget the name of Vulgar. And so I know him for a long time, and I'm a fan of his podcast, Tell Him Steve Dave, and I was a watcher of Comic Book Man. So then to talk to him, and I've met him here and there throughout the years, but to talk to him on the show, it's like now you're just talking to him as a guy. You're not listening as a fan. Like you're not like, hey, so I really love your stuff. you're just talking about bullshit. Like we talked about movies, we talked about, our opinions about like censorship and stuff like that, like things that we were interested in. And it was, like you're saying about the good thing about interviewing people is that, see, like I never look at it as an interview. I just look at it as a conversation. So when we have people on the Hoof or even the Jack Kirby show, we just have a conversation with them, because then you don't know where the show is going to go. And I like that. I like that anybody could bring up any subject and it's going to start a whole aspect of
spiral,
conversation that you
like
never.
Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Beautiful direction, beautiful lane.
It's like a tree branch, it's like a tree growing different branches, and you don't know what branch you're going to wind up on. So it's kind of exciting and it's fun. And I genuinely do like to get to know people and talk to people.
Yeah, I love hearing like funny stories that you never think you would have heard. Like I heard this one guy I interviewed. He was like, "I'm the only one who could get away with dealing drugs out of a military base or some stuff like that."
Jesus.
And it's like just funny stuff like that. Or one person will tell me like, I don't know how he was like shooting a music video hanging off the side of a building or something like that.
That's correct.
Just crazy stuff like that you never thought you'd hear. But also you do get some emotional stuff like you never thought you would have heard. Yeah. But the Brian O'Halloran interview was awesome. Like, how'd you get that set up?
Well, Chris knows him somehow. I think he talked about it on the episode. Because Chris knows those Tell 'em Steve Dave guys, he is kind of involved in that Kevin Smith world to a degree. So he knows a lot of those guys, and they did a roast of Brian O'Halloran for his birthday. I think it was his birthday. And so Chris was involved in the roast. He was, he wasn't the host. Was he the host? I don't think he was the host, but he was up there roasting Brian O'Halloran. So he knows him through that event, I guess. Maybe he had met him beforehand. I'm not really sure. I don't really remember. But Chris knew him somehow, so he had asked him.
Do you watch his podcast or live show?
I don't watch. I've seen clips of it, but I never watched the whole thing.
Dude,
the O'Halloran.
He's got the O'Halloran. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He doesn't do it like so much. Like he's not like super consistent with it, but it's still a pretty cool show. He had a Muppet puppeteer on one time, cool. And that was cool.
I'm a big Muppets fan myself.
Honestly. Yeah, like there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Like that, it's often currently overlooked in a sense, like because like not a lot of people care about practical stuff. Sometimes there is a small section of people who really care about practical.
Like puppetry and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I love it.
Like I love to see, and I'm not like a huge fan of the new Star Wars stuff. I do love some of it, but I love to see the behind the scenes footage when they try and say, okay, this is how we did it in the 80s. Yeah. We're gonna put it into the new. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I love it.
I love to see that.
I'm a huge fan of practical effects and puppetry and whatnot, and I think there's a tangibility and there's a real world aspect to it that I think makes it more successful than a lot of CGI stuff. Yeah. I like the idea of using CGI to enhance practical effects.
Yeah, mixing.
Yes,
that's awesome,
exactly,
man.
So it's like if you're gonna have a big Jabba the Hutt puppet, which looks fucking amazing in Return of the Jedi, it looks so great because it's a real fucking thing.
And it's real. The weird slappy tongue, you know?
Yeah, like it's in the room. And they're filming it and they're lighting it, so it's flawless, So to do that nowadays, they could even make that puppet better because they could just fucking CGI out the fucking strings and the the wires or whatever they have to do. There's that mix of the two, I think, is really nice,
Yeah, that's why I love some of it, like stop motion as well. I love that as well. There's a lot of cool stop motion. YouTube channel is specifically in Lego stop motion. Lego Star Wars stop motion. I'm a big fan of Forest Fire 101 and Keshinade. They do like small little like weird cool like Family Guy's parodies of like Star Wars cool. Or like Lego Batman, real like Batman and Robin style. Yeah, exactly. Right, it'll be like I don't know, like Batman will be like telling like Robin to like I don't know, like clean up some, like you have to stay home and watch the dog you can't go fight villains with me. Some stupid
Dick
shit like
stuff.
that. Just cool, weird parody stuff that you never thought you'd think you'd see, and that type of stuff. So, what other guests are you proud of having on?
On the Hoof?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we don't have too many as far as quote unquote celebrity guests. Brian.
No, just friends too. You can add friends in. Like, what's your favorite episodes you've done with someone besides the co-host?
Let's oddly enough, my friend Mike DeVito, the guy that I do the Jack Kirby show with, him and I have been doing that show since 2017. But whenever he's on the Hoof, like him and I have a good rapport, obviously, like talk wise. Like we've known each other a long time. He's one of my best friends, so it's very easy for him and I to just converse. So whenever he's on the Hoof, he adds a good element to the show because he always has he's a talker. Mike's, he knows a lot about shit. He's a teacher, and he loves to talk. He's a good storyteller. So, whenever he's on the Hoof, we always have a good time with him because he's always got something funny, like some fucking funny story to tell us, So those have been some of my favorite episodes having Mike on. I think everybody has been really cool. We did a really good one over the summer with my friend Carnell. Like Carnell is like an older black gentleman who we had on the show to kind of talk about the Black Lives Matter stuff. Because as two white guys, me and Chris, like two middle-aged white guys, it's like, well, how do we talk about black issues? We don't know about black issues, We could support it.
I saw a lot of people doing stuff like that during the time, like for my friend Jared Buckendahl, who's I think he's a big film critic YouTuber, but he's real like a mentor to me. Like he brings me on his podcast, his friend's podcast.
Oh, cool.
He's really like, and he's obviously bigger than me, but like he's like real a mentor to me, Jared Buckendahl. But he had an 8-hour live stream.
Oh wow!
In like early June, where he'd have like a donation goal of like, I think it was like $500 or something like that. I pitched
like a telethon kind of.
Yeah, but he'd like be playing like Super Mario 64 or something, like, or he'd play like NES. He'd play some like Mario games and stuff, and he'd be like streaming and stuff, and then he'd have a donation goal set up. So like within 8 hours, he probably hit like $900 or something like that, and he was gonna donate it to the movement. And I love that stuff.
Yeah. That conversation, I felt like it was an important one for us to have because, like we want to be supportive of our black brothers and sisters. But as two white guys, I felt like the only real way to kind of learn anything is by listening, So I wanted to have somebody on that is older than us. So he's been through, like times of real racism in the 60s and whatnot. Like this is a guy that used to go down south for the summers and experience like Jim Crow bullshit. So I felt like it was important to talk to somebody like that comes at it in a different way than two white guys,
like
that was a really good episode,
different perspective. That was the goal, is to get a different perspective and introduce that perspective to the viewers, so then potentially someone who might not have information or not know about that stuff could potentially take that with their daily life. So I respect that.
And also, also a way for kind of us to learn, Like like I said, all summer I was saying, like, the only way, like, you got all these people on Facebook and Instagram or whatever, all these white people, like, telling people how they should feel and act. It's like, you should just listen to the people that need the help, because they're the ones telling you how to fucking act and what to do and what to say and what not to say. Like, you don't have to be the white knight. Like, no one needs you to do that. You want to be supportive. You want to show that you're on the side and you're backing these people that need the help, then that's great. But it's not your fight, it's their fight. The more people step in for them and say, I'll help you, black guy. It's like, that's the less help that person is getting, I feel, like, let them do it themselves. That's the only way that they're going to get anywhere. The black, not just black, but people of color, and even some white people, like, everybody needs,
I think any group of people that have been oppressed should, like, we should leave it up to them. But
my point is, like, sometimes it's better to just fucking listen and not make it about yourself, because obviously everything going on over the summer was upsetting to a lot of people, not just black people, and and people of color, but a lot of fucking people. But let's just listen, let's just learn that way, because it's not about me. Like I've experienced racism throughout my life from, different people, but not to the extent that a black guy has. Um, so it's like, that's why we wanted to have him on, to kind of just talk to us about like his experiences. Hey, what can we do, Cornell? How can we be helpful? And I think listening was that. So that was a really good show that I really liked and I thought was important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've had a lot of good guests on. Hopefully there are some other actors and whatnot that I've reached out to about coming on the show. You might, I don't want to say too much, but hopefully when we get them, it'll be stuff that people that you might know and enjoy.
I want to see Joey Diaz on your show. That would be outstanding. I feel like he'd be a good.
He's big. I don't know if he would. He
lives in Jersey. He moved out of L.A. into Jersey.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I love his show.
Could always reach out.
He's really like
a couple of comedians.
Yeah, are you a fan of comedians a lot? Like, what comedians do you enjoy?
Current ones. So for a while I was producing a show with my friend Joe Pally. It was a live comedy show that we would do once a month at the Bitter End in New York City in the Village, which, if you know the Bitter End, it's a world famous place. It's like where Dylan got started, George Carlin got started, Bill Cosby.
Dylan who? What do you mean?
Bob Dylan.
Okay, yeah. That was like
Linda Ronstadt. Like all these famous comedians and artists and musicians started at this place, the Bitter End in the Village. And so it was really cool to do a monthly show there. And we'd always have people that we know, like comedians that weren't really well known, but like working comedians. And then we would always have a feature. So we've had like Sam Morril on the show, and Judah Friedlander, and Janine Garofalo's done the show a few times. Who else? We've had a bunch, like well-known people that you've seen on television,
Yeah.
So I've kind of haven't reached out to a lot of them yet, because I didn't want the show to become a show about stand-ups. But there are some that I like personally, and I would like to have them on just because I think they would be fun and add to the conversation.
Are you talking about the Hoof, or are you talking about the
On the Hoof. Hoof.
Speaking of the whole Bob Dylan thing, you ever heard of the movie Inside Llewellyn Davis?
Oh, it's excellent. I love it.
So that's inspired by like someone who kind of like helped and mentored Bob Dylan, and people like Bob Dylan that were in that came up in the same area. You know what I mean? And I love that movie.
West Village area is where that place, the Bitter End, is. It's in that area.
What I like about that movie is like I see that movie, and with that character, I feel like is in a lot of people who aren't well known that I respect in terms of musicians, like people who mentor a lot of people. Like there is a sort of rap Llewellyn Davis in a sense, like this guy named Jay Green, in a sense that he's not at the level of the people that he mentored and brought in, like artists like Lil Peep, artists like Wiz Khalifa, Juicy J. He introduced like Wiz Khalifa to Juicy J, and he saw like Lil Tracy and all these people blow up, but he never got to the level. And like I simultaneously wish he gets to their level, but simultaneously I'm just glad that he was able to introduce people that are bigger than him now. And what I like about that movie is like, I don't know why, I feel like it's appealing to the creator type, that movie.
Oh, definitely.
For sure. Like what movies appeal to the creator side of you?
Well, yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if you're a Coen Brothers fan, like Inside Llewellyn Davis to me is like the musician equivalent of Barton Fink, which is about a writer, Yeah. So that's like about a struggling writer trying to kind of make his mark, like Llewellyn Davis is about this guy who was at some sort of popularity until his partner died, and now he's kind of starting from scratch again, trying to break away from the shadow of him and his partner. And as far as other movies along those lines that I really like, Almost Famous is one that I fucking love, the Cameron Crowe movie. being a musician myself and loving that era of music, the 70s era of music, I really love that movie. I love the characters, so well written, just a great movie. What else along those lines? I'd really have to think about that off the top of my head. Not sure, man. Not sure. I know something's gonna come though. Let me think. Yeah, I don't know. I can't think of anything right off the top of my head right now.
I feel like this is like
like The Shining.
A creator movie is like Napoleon Dynamite. Appeals to like the sort of not creator, but sort of like kid who's interested in pop culture. That's like weird and different. Nah, you know what I mean? Like awesomely unique. I love Napoleon Dynamite, and I saw like a Q&A with the actors like live.
Oh, cool.
I love that shit.
Well, I guess if you're thinking of it in those terms, then maybe something like Chasing Amy would also fit in that, you know?
Yes.
Like it's about two
insanely good.
Two guys trying to make a comic book and trying to deal with the popularity of the book and how it's going to change, and also dealing with this, lesbian love affair. But that aspect, you don't see a lot of movies and whatnot about comic book creators. I know there are a couple, like American Splendor, about what the hell's his name? I can't think of the artist's name now. Shit. Have you seen that movie, American Splendor?
No.
It's like a biography about, I can't think of his fucking name. Shit. About this guy who started writing comic books later on in his life, became very popular, like underground comic books. But he also, the artists he would hire to draw his comics, to draw his stories, would also later kind of go. A lot of them would go on to be pretty famous themselves. And and I can't think of the guy's name who the movie is about, but Paul Giamatti plays the character. But the movie itself is also like, it blurs the line between like documentary and autobiography, because they also have the real guy in the movie talking to the camera. It's a really well done movie, American Splendor.
Is it like a documentary?
No, it's a biography, but it's not a traditional biography. Like, it's actually good, and they do interesting things with like the behind the scenes and the storytelling aspect of it, like the narration and stuff.
Yeah. I like when
it's
people
worth
do
watching.
Different spins on stuff.
It's worth watching.
This filmmaker who did a mockumentary in the style of like The Office and stuff, but he did it about an intervention.
Okay.
He did it in the style, but it was about an intervention, like an alcoholic intervention type of thing and stuff like that.
Sounds hysterical. It's depressing.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was like, it was probably one of my coolest interviews, because the movie was like, had a lot of substance to it, but it was like, in mockumentaries there is a lot of like caricatures and
analogies,
characters that are like really like over the top to be over the top. And that's why like I don't like watch those shows like The Office regularly. Like
The Office, I love that show.
Yeah, it's good, but it's just like with I couldn't watch that every day. Like Seinfeld is like the only really like sitcom I could watch every day. So
let me ask you a question, Mike. You're 17 years old. How did you get into Seinfeld?
It's just like, it was always, the reruns were
constantly
always on.
Yeah.
But I don't have cable no more. Like, I don't think anybody really is. I don't really watch cable anymore. But I don't know. I always look for it. Like, it's just the only really one that's like deeply funny, like in a sense that it's never corny. It's never has a corny moment. There's no moment where I'm like, that's not that funny. Like, that's not.
It's not like Friends bullshit.
It's not. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's not like, it's not trying to be something it isn't. And like, I feel like we've either had a Seinfeld moment or like.
Yeah, it's relatable in a lot of ways. Yeah. It was definitely a show that was created to kind of put focus on those little weird things that people go through, mundane things that people go through from day to day that we've all kind of experienced, like the close talker and masturbation, like all these things that were never really talked about, and this show kind of gave that stuff a voice and a little spotlight. And it's like, oh, I've met somebody that had giant size hands, you know. I know a woman who doesn't wear a bra all the time and it's uncomfortable, you know. Like,
and like so the one girl who like looks good in certain lighting, but then when she's not in that lighting, she doesn't look good. And they filled in like a different actor for each one. That's my favorite.
Exactly, yeah.
Or my favorite
genius, man.
It's genius. But like that's a certain type of a comedy, but like there's like in the comment section for certain clips of it. This one guy wrote a fan fiction of Seinfeld, and it's so funny. Listen to this. So I was thinking about this. So George goes to the bathroom in a supermarket, and he sees a guy go out of the bathroom and not wash his hands. So he follows the guy around to see what items in the store he touches and doesn't touch. So then he can get the item that he doesn't touch. And he continuously follows him around to the point where like the guy like notices him and like he like runs out of the store or some shit. Just stupid. That's what would be. And the fact that someone wrote that down shows how good the show is.
That could definitely be an episode. Do you watch Kirby Enthusiasm?
Kirby Enthusiasm. I've seen like probably a little bit of it.
All right, so I mean that show is created by Larry David, who was the Seinfeld co-creator, and it takes the Seinfeld stuff and just amps it up a little bit because it's cable, so they get to curse and they get to have some subjects that they couldn't do on like regular television, but also genius. Also full of those little moments in life that we've all experienced, and he becomes like our voice,
I want to do that one day. Just make a
do it
about like
you're young man. Do it. I will,
but
we've had.
I gotta build influence.
You get there. You get there. The guy who was the co-star of that show, Jeff Garlin, who's a comedian. I don't know if you know him, an actor, comedian. We've had him on Jack Kirby before. He reached out to us. He's apparently a big comic book fan. So we had him on the show, and he was an awesome guest, really funny, very open, like he was it's just like talking to one of our friends, and it was a great episode. And again, like I have that guy's phone number. Like this is a millionaire, like a guy that's on television on a show that I've watched for 20 years. And, he's done stand-up. He's written for other shows. He was on Arrested Development. He's on that show, The Goldbergs, which I don't really like. I don't really watch, but he's on it. And like, I have his phone number all because he liked comic books, so it's pretty amazing. The people that you're going to get to meet doing a podcast, like you, Mike. Yeah. I got your number too.
Yeah. Like how many episodes did you watch before like this? Be honest with me.
Of your show?
Yeah, my show.
Again, I've never watched full episodes on the YouTube.
Listen.
Oh, I listened to about 3 or 4, maybe 5, and plus the clips, clips on what is that called?
Yeah, I love my Instagram. I post a lot of weird stuff on my Instagram.
Yeah,
it's funny.
That's
dude.
where I'll see a lot of the stuff, And again, I like the fact that you have a varied range of guests. That's really cool. It's like I said, it's kind of like what we were trying to do,
you guys do
hope
that
to do
successfully, man. Yeah. Let's be honest. You guys do
so like, do you reach out to people and say, "Hey, man, come on our show"? Like, how does it work? Yeah, is that basically what you do?
It depends what type of guest it is. If it's like a photographer, it's really easy to get them on. Like they're real like, yeah, man, whoa. But if it's like an artist, I'm reaching out to their managers. I'm reaching out to their labels.
Oh, okay, wow.
Or something, and money's more involved when it comes to musicians, because that's more like where I make my money from. But if it's like filmmakers, they're cool to like, they're real like, it's mainly just DMing people constantly.
Okay.
It's just like DMing people constantly, but I do have my friends on a lot of the time, every now and then.
Yeah, I've heard some of those.
Those are ones I'm most proud of. Ones with my friends. They're like,
yeah, I mean, it's oddly enough, like, we've had these guests on both shows that are, that work in entertainment, work in the industry, whether it be comic book or entertainment industry. But I always feel like my favorite shows are just the ones that I do with my friends, and we have our friends on as guests, because there's
Like I've had friends that I don't hang out with anymore, but like I wish, like just friends that like I'm not friends with anymore, but they were on when I started everything. Okay. And while I don't hang out with them anymore because like issues, I still like remember that, you know. And sometimes I go back and listen to them, and it's just like weird to see that. Like
I'm sure that's a little sad too, to a degree.
Sad.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're young, man. You're gonna learn. People are gonna come and go throughout your life, and it's strange. Like the people that at one point you're like, wow, this is my best friend. You know, we're like brothers, this and that. At one point, you're gonna be like strangers. You know, not always, but that does happen. You know, these people that at some point in your life are really close. Eventually, you're not really close anymore, and you're like, oh, where did that go wrong? Or were we really on those like types of different paths that we just diverged, like we just went totally separate ways where we don't talk every day. I mean, there are people that I know that I talk to every day that I don't never hear from anymore, not because anybody did anything wrong to each other, but that's just life,
That's a fact.
It's part of life.
It's
part of life.
We don't realize, and then we realize, we're starting to realize those type of things, that a lot of things are temporary,
it's just the way it is.
Spiritually, physically.
Yes. And, speaking of spiritually, like that's the thing. You have to kind of, you try to be as good a person as you could be and try to like, don't do things that you would regret and live without regrets and, just try to be a good person, and what's meant to be is going to be. So, the people that are meant to be in your life will be in your life,
That's a fact.
Whether it be now or later or forever, who knows,
Yeah, like
you gotta do your thing. Take care of your friends.
That's why I've been starting to like take a look at who consistently like likes my videos and like checks my stuff out, and I like been more interactive with people who like aren't creative and stuff, who are just liking my stuff to like my stuff, and who I might consider my supporters or fans. Like I started a group chat with like just some people that I know. Like I posted on my story like a poll, like who is interested in being in a group chat, and like a decent amount of people were like yes, and I added them to the group chat. And, like I like to do that shit now. I've been noticing like interacting with fans is fun. Like how do you interact with fans of the podcast?
So the Jack Kirby show, again, we've been doing that a lot longer. Me and Mike, and we have a lot of international listeners to the show. And we also have a huge following on Instagram, not because of anything we did, but because we're dedicated to Jack Kirby, and there's so many Jack Kirby fans out in the world. So it's like automatic followers, whether they listen to the show or not, they probably don't. I mean, we have a decent amount of listeners, but not as many listeners as we have Instagram followers, So you can't really go by that. I don't think that's a fair way to assess things just for yourself. Like you have to do the show because you enjoy doing the show. And Mike and I really love doing that show. And we definitely have people that reach out to us, people we've become friends with, like through the show. Again, a lot of international people from different countries who they'll send us stuff. They'll, independent creators that are like, hey man, I drew a comic. I'd love to send it to you guys. And I'm like,
yeah, I love when someone sends me music, man. Oh my god.
Yeah,
it might be like,
it's
it depends. Like it's not gonna be great all the time, but I still appreciate that.
It doesn't matter. It's like exactly the fact that they're willing to share. They like what you do enough that they want to share with you. What they do. It's like they get the show. They listen to the show for free. You put it up on Apple, whatever, you put it up wherever you put it up. And they're getting something from it. They're getting entertainment. They're getting, information. They're learning stuff. And so that's how they want to kind of say thank you, by sending you a free comic or sending you buttons, like whatever things we've had sent to us before. Same with the Hoof. I interact with people that, because I run the Instagram page. So when people, respond or leave a comment and whatnot, I'll react to them. I'll always say thank you, or if they have a question, I'll answer. Chris doesn't really like to do that for reasons. He's had a history with because he knows those Impractical Jokers guys. So he's had a history of people trying to befriend him to get to them, and so he's a little more weary about talking with people.
What's his experience with the entertainment industry? You guys talk about that a little bit, but like, what is it like specifically?
Well, I mean, I know he's made some independent films before and written some stuff. Again, he's worked on in a technical capacity with the Impractical Jokers guys before they got picked up for television, like on the filming technical aspect of things. He's worked with those guys. He appears on that Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast quite often because he's friends with those guys. So he's written some stuff before. He's written a comic book. He's done quite a lot of stuff, but that's really it. Like it's never really kind of went to. He has a day job. I guess that's telling enough. Like so. He has a family, so he can't pursue these kind of things that he's not going to get paid to pursue. Like he's got a wife, he's got a kid, so he's got to take care of his family, obviously. So that kind of maybe stops him from taking chances that like you or I might be able to take. You're 17 years old, Mike. You could do whatever the fuck you want, I'm older than you, but I also don't have a wife. I've never been married. I don't have kids, so I could do things. I'm a little more flexible as far as what I can do.
A bit more risky with things.
Exactly. Yeah, I can be, and he can't be. He doesn't have that that opportunity. And I think he feels like that opportunity has passed him. I don't think that's true. I think he could kind of do what he wants, and we're actually working on something now that might turn into. I don't want to say too much because eventually we'll talk about it on the show, but. We're in the middle of creating something that might eventually wind up being a short film or something. So we'll see.
Some visual creation.
Something.
Yes.
Again, and he has, he's dealing with a lot of family stuff. I don't want to talk too much about it. We've mentioned on the Hoof before, but
yeah.
That's why kind of one of the reasons why we're taking a break, because I feel like it's unfair of me to expect him to commit as much as I want him to commit. So I'd rather just take a break and let him kind of deal with what he has to deal with.
Which podcast took like almost a year break or something. This guy went to like a Buddhist retreat in Tibet.
Which show is that?
The Duncan Trussell Family Hour podcast or something.
Oh, okay, yeah, I know him.
He's probably my favorite podcast. I'd say I have my top 3. I like that better than Joe Rogan, to be honest, man. Like, cause I like Joe Rogan, but Joe Rogan episodes are only really good when he had really good when he has his friends on, like Joey Diaz, when he had Duncan Trussell, Ari Shaffir, when he has his comedian friends on, like where
I think the opposite.
Oh really? No, I mean I like him going in a different territory. Like he'll have like Willie D, Mike Judge, or Mike Tyson on. But I'm just real specific with my Joe Rogan episodes. But I feel like he is the greatest podcaster of all time. That's my opinion because he's the one who's made like podcasting become taken seriously a bit. Like, like,
for sure.
He's like the way I look at Drake in terms of like music or like he's on that level where in his field he's like top of everything. Like he is the
it's like him, Kevin Smith, Mark Maron, like those are the guys.
Yes.
What's the other guy, Adam Carolla, who I never listened to, but I know like these are guys that have been doing podcasts for so long.
No Jumper.
Were like who?
No Jumper.
I don't know.
Well, they're really unique. They're a mainly hip hop show, but they the thing about them though is what's unique about them is they so it's this guy, right? Adam 22. He owns a bike shop in LA on Melrose Avenue, right? It's called his store is called On Some Shit. And and I love that. But so he had a bike shop, right? BMX bike shop, and he had a BMX YouTube channel, right? But he started to do a podcast out of the back of his bike shop where he'd interview like up and coming SoundCloud rappers. In like 2014 he started it.
Oh, cool.
So he started getting like a young Lil Yachty, a young XXXTentacion, a young Ski Mask the Slump God, and then he started getting like legends and like DJ Paul from like 3 6 Mafia. Like he started he started getting, and he had like Dame Dash, and he started getting big huge interview. He got the CEO of like Raw Rolling Papers on, like, and like
perfect. You know,
Casey Neistat. You know, he's had almost every huge rapper on now, but he just started it in the back of his bike shop, and
yeah, it's awesome.
He's just real big in terms of like the rap. But the thing, what was inspiring about him is it's called No Jumper, right? It's mainly just seen as the No Jumper show. He'll have that where it's just him and his buddies, and then I'll have the No Jumper interviews, right, where it's Adam interviewing someone. But then I'll have like a show under him that he's not on. It's his friend like AD.
It's like his network of shows,
exactly. Like he'll have like at the end of the day, Mad Lately, Thoughts Next Door, you know, just stuff like that. He has like people under him that do their own stuff, and like from a standpoint, like a sort of quote unquote business standpoint, you know. I respect that he does that shit where he has other people involved.
It's what Kevin Smith did with Smodco. Like eventually, it's like his whole radio station, you know, and all these guys who were his friends started doing shows under that banner, and they've eclipsed him as far as popularity sometimes, you know. I would definitely suggest you have my buddy Mike on the show because he's a huge hip hop guy, and all these some of these names.
Didn't you?
Yeah, we just did MF Doom episode. You know, the relation between comic book culture and hip hop culture. That's, you know, it's so deep for so long that we thought it was it's an episode we've been wanting to do for a while. And then when MF Doom died, we're like, all right, now's the time to do it, you know, because people know the name, you know, like he's been around for so long. Not a lot of people know that name.
Yeah, I known him for like 2 years, like before he died and stuff. But like still, like I love the whole comic book mixture of hip hop. Like Wu-Tang Clan did that a lot. That's why I love Wu-Tang and like GZA, Method Man, and also like
Bobby Digital.
Yeah, Denzel Curry did that a lot. He's a newer guy.
Okay, I don't know him,
but
I don't keep up on modern. I mean, I sound like an old guy saying it, but a lot of the modern hip hop, I'm not a fan of.
Well, top 40 is not like the top 40 on the Billboard. That's not where I look at when it comes to new stuff. Like I mainly listen to the people that I interview.
Okay.
Because like I just like them because I'm friends with them first off, and also like if you want to find good new stuff, you really got to dig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's
the thing. I don't dig. I don't really dig for a lot of music. I'm a musician, you know.
Yeah. You had you release music, man. Tell me about that.
Yeah. I've been writing music since I was like 16, 17. I've been in a few bands. You know, I've always been like the main songwriter, frontman of the band, so on and so forth. I haven't been in a band in a while, but I did really record a couple of albums on my own over the last 10 years, 12 years, something like that.
Using what instruments were you singing? Was it just like guitar
singing and guitar? On a couple of the albums, I played some bass and some other instruments and whatnot. The last thing that I recorded was almost 10 years ago. 2000. No, what am I talking about? Like 2013. Me and my buddy Steve, who's a drummer, he's been on the Hoof quite often. Actually, he's another good guest. He's a drummer, so him and I embarked in this recording project. 10 songs, him and I, and my brother plays on a couple of the tracks. He's a bass player, and the guy who recorded us, he's like a multi-instrumentalist. He plays some guitar on it, but it's mainly me and Steve, him doing the drums and like me doing everything else, or like a rock album.
I love making. I do music production as well, just like just mainly hip hop beats and like others.
Yeah, that's awesome.
It's so much fun, man. Like just making what you like are a fan of. You know what I mean?
Of course, yeah. I just started over the pandemic, over the summer when lockdown and shit. I finally went and purchased like an M box, like a box to record music on my computer. Ooh. Like an interface. So I finally started to do it just like in November. It was the first thing I ever recorded at home on a computer. So I'm starting to learn. Obviously there's a lot to learn with these programs. There's like so much you could do. It's crazy, So
FL Studio is a lot to learn too. That's what I use. I use FL Studio.
What is it? Which one do you use? What
Fruity
is it called?
Loop Studio. It's like the
Fruity Loops. Yeah. Steve
It's
used to use that in college.
yeah,
He
there's a
went to
certain
college for
thing
music.
for like
Yeah.
BPM and certain little like the piano roll as opposed to the pattern
Okay.
arrangements. Just certain like do you want it at 165 BPM? Do you want it to be 85 BPM? How does the sample how many bars does the sample fit in? When should the hi-hat hit? Should it be every 2 steps? Should it be every 3 steps? Do you want to change it? It's just stupid stuff. Not stupid, but
Not
little
stupid, but
nitpicky
it's a lot of
things.
stuff. Yeah.
But it becomes. I don't play guitar. I play piano, but I assume that with guitar, those certain small things, they get faster as you get going. Like I want to do this, so you.
Yeah, of course. The more you learn, the easier it is, and I'm just starting, so I'll get there.
I'm hyped to hear that, man. Send me a link when you release something, or give me
definitely.
a leak, or give me a leak.
I could give you a leak. I could send you the last thing that I recorded here at home.
Awesome,
I'll send it to you. I'll text it to you.
I don't know if I should be sharing this information, but a lot of rappers send me versions of their songs before they release, and I have a Google Drive storage folder for all anybody who sends me music.
That's good. When they get big, you got some bootleg material you could release right there.
I would never sell that, man. I just like I'd make a burner account and release it on there. You'd just be like, it's
a lot of like
people just like you were saying earlier with people sending you comics or something like that. It's so much fun, man.
I'll send you some shit. There's a lot of things that I do, there's a lot of creative endeavors that I love.
An episode title?
Creative endeavors. Yeah. That was the second episode. And we talked about like the different kind of shit that we do. So Chris talked about like his film work and his interest in writing and so on and so forth. And I talked about music and stuff that I've done in the past. It's I mean, I do a lot of shit. I don't make any money from any of it, but I love it, I mean, I do freelance art stuff, and I do make money doing that, but it's not always steady. During the pandemic, I lost my job, so I've been relying on that, and it's been pretty good. So I got to be thankful the fact that I can make money doing something that I enjoy. That's
like I see the
goal in life.
The doodle boards, man. They're cool looking, man. When you release something new.
Thank you.
Is it just like a little improvised doodle, or is it like you're planning? Is it relate to the episode? I assume when you draw it.
You're talking about the ones that I would do for the episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just me doodling around while we're talking.
Oh, that's like while you're.
Yeah, while
snap.
Because like I said before, we were doing Zoom. We were just doing it over the phone, so I didn't need to look at a screen. So I would just keep myself busy doodling while we were recording. So those are all like off the cuff, just bullshit doodles that I would do. Now we do Zoom, so I actually look at the screen.
Dude, like Robert Rodriguez, though, speaking of doodling and drawing, Robert Rodriguez loves painting and drawing, right? The film director.
Yeah.
So he'll when he's working on a film with someone, he'd get like an actor or actress, he'd get them to start drawing just to like introduce people to it, because he's because he wants people to like remove the mental block of drawing, which I happen to have. Sadly, I used to draw comic books when I was like, I don't know, 15 years ago, not 15 years. I was 2 years old.
You were 2?
No,
you're a genius.
Like 7. Like I draw like Ink Boy or some shit, like a guy who stabs people with pens, like, and I draw it because like just stupid, or Catman.
The thing with drawing is that like people,
there's an easy block for some people.
People think they have to be good at it to do it, but as an artist, it's good to be good at something. As an artist, a somewhat professional artist, as a guy who does freelance work and does commission work, I kind of need to be good at certain things, right? But if you just like to do it because you just enjoy it, it doesn't matter if it's good or not. Like you could make, it's about expression. It's about, it just the joy of doing it. So if you're a guy that just likes to do it, and you're never going to be a professional at it, just because you're never going to be a professional at it doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Like you should do it anyway because you enjoy it. And then eventually you start to kind of see what you're good at and what you're not good at. And when you could start to embrace what you're good at, you never know, man. You never know where that could take you. You know, you could wind up with your own fucking cartoon strip that came out of the fact that you can't draw, you know? And that's pretty amazing, you know, because you're getting to it in a pure way, in a, you know, very natural way. And that's what it's about to me. That's what drawing and music and even the podcasting. Like, I'm never going to be a Joe Rogan where, you know, we're getting our fucking show bought by Spotify for millions of dollars, but I enjoy doing it.
Yeah.
You know, me and Mike do that show because we love Jack Kirby and we love comic books, and we love to get on the mic and fucking make dick jokes while we talk about comic books. And me and Chris do the Hoof.
That's beautiful, man. You know, what did the guy from Clerks say? That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
I used to use that as a producer tag on my music, but then I realized one day someone's gonna copyright that. You know.
Yeah, you could sue you. Yeah.
So yeah, I still, but like no, like so like before the beat drop, it would say like "That's beautiful, man," and then the beat would drop. But I don't do
Clerks,
that anymore.
Right? That's
Clerks,
yeah. That he says that. Yeah.
Yeah, with the "My love for you is ticking clock."
Yeah.
The metal guy. I want to know. We need an animated show about that metal rocker, or something like that.
Just that guy.
Just that guy. The what Russian metal rocker.
Not Ivan. Shit. What was his name? I'm the worst, man. I got the worst memory. Remember sexy.
Yeah, remember the guy said the girl was like,
Olaf.
Did he say
Olaf is his
yeah,
name.
Olaf. Remember the girl was like,
fuck?
Did he say making fun?
He's not from here. He don't speak too good like we do. Yeah.
That's
great, Olaf.
That's like one
That'd
of the
be
greatest.
Great, actually.
Oh my god!
Like a spin-off Olaf movie about him trying to live his rock and roll dream.
That movie's so good. I want to make something like that. You know.
No, dude, no one's stopping you. You're a young guy. Start writing. You know.
I do. No, I wrote a movie about how I got scammed by this one guy. No, that's like my greatest creation. I got it right here.
How many pages is it?
It's a short. It's like 11. I wrote it with my friend.
Cool.
I wrote it with my friend, but my friend's brother's boyfriend got COVID. So maybe his family might have COVID. So then maybe I'm not probably going to be able to hang out with him for a week is what I'm saying, because he still hasn't gotten his test back.
Yeah, be careful, man.
Yeah, the only time I go out is work and the park. Just to, you know.
Where do you work, Mike?
Just a smoothie joint near the mall.
Gotcha. Nice.
Gets me a couple hundreds every now and then.
There you go. That's all that matters in life. Just getting that money, making that paper, getting by.
Paper chase, yeah.
You know, getting to the next thing. You know.
I mainly
Save
goes
that
into
money.
this or like stuff, you know. Just
dude, like I said, you're a young guy and you're already building this little network of shows and interviews and whatever. So you're on a good track, you know.
Yeah, I love
definitely
doing
more
this shit, man.
professional.
I love
definitely
interacting.
More professional than us.
Really?
Yeah, man. Look, you got fucking microphones and shit set up. Like, we don't know. I'm doing this through fucking Zoom with headphones, you know.
But you're at least you got that authentic factor.
Yeah, you got that too. There's nothing inauthentic about it.
Who made the intro music, man? Was that like did you Google intro music or did you?
No, that's mine. It was a song that I had recorded years ago that I never finished. So it was just the bass drums and the guitar. I never put the vocals on it because we recorded it so fast, like not realizing we recorded it live. So bass drums and guitar were recorded live at the same time. And afterwards, we're like, fuck, this is way too fast. I can't sing this fast. Like, the words just sound like a mess. And I couldn't, like, when I went to do my overdub guitar, the lead guitar part, it was just way too fast. So I just scrapped the whole song. Yeah. So when we were looking for theme music, I took that unused music and I sent it to my friend Rich, who's the guy that produced, he engineered the albums that I did. And I was like, yo, I need 20 seconds of this. And I want some kind of guitar riff on top of it. And I need to have this clip of Robert De Niro in there. I'm like, can you do something? And he's like, yeah. He's like, just give me a little while. And later that night, he sent it back. He put that guitar part on it, like that really heavy guitar melody. He added the hoof, the Robert De Niro thing in there, and that's our theme song. Very easy, and we own it, so we can't get sued. And You know, like doesn't have to get removed ever.
Well,
It's mine, you know?
podcasts aren't monetized, so
Yeah.
you can't.
It's okay.
It's okay. And yeah. I mean, maybe if it were on YouTube, maybe.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing about YouTube is I do YouTube. I post my podcast on YouTube because I do other types of content on YouTube. I do the reaction videos. I do the tier lists. I do the vlogs. Yeah, I vlog like a studio session with like a rapper or a concert with them.
Oh, cool.
Just because like, here in Delaware, there's a lot of local rappers, and I like to like support them heavily. Like just out of the love for them, because like a lot of these guys, like I hung out with at homecoming. We've been to carnivals. We've chased the same girls at carnivals. You know what I mean? It's like that type of shit, man. Like I love to support these local guys. Their music might not be the greatest, but I still like to hope that one day they can get themselves out there to someone huge.
Yeah.
Like I love this local community type shit. We need that. Delaware. Nobody fucking cares about someone being from Delaware. Like everybody's like New York. Yeah. Like New York is like there's some slight bit of pride. Like probably obviously bigger than being pride. Nobody's real prideful about being from Delaware. Yeah, I want to get out of Delaware. I want to get out of Delaware.
About Delaware too much, you know.
But I want to get out of Delaware to come back and then come. I want to get out of Delaware to put myself out there, put myself in the right scenarios as an entertainer, right? Then come back strong, and maybe get myself
owning
like a
shit,
giant
running shit.
Yes,
right?
Get a giant studio. Have
Paisley Park style house in fucking Delaware, big Prince compound, you know.
Like you know how Tyler Perry has that giant ass compound.
Yes, yeah.
Dude, I don't watch Tyler Perry movies, but I respect that giant.
Oh, look, I'm with you. I don't watch those movies because I think they're generally corny. But that guy built. I mean, what that guy made from nothing, you know.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing. Like a whole fucking movie studio. Those movies
all started with some guy dressing as a girl and going crazy and being funny. Like, whatever, man, do that.
Yeah,
I would love that.
And he's a good actor too. I mean, I've seen him in actual real movies. This, like, he's good.
Semi-dramatic Netflix movie that was like some legal drama. It was not that bad. Yeah. Not that bad. I'll be honest. It was like not that great, but it's not that bad, and I respect that. But
he's built an empire for sure. You know, Tyler Perry.
How long do you got, like, time wise? Because
go ahead. What's up? You got another question?
No, just I was thinking we could push the 2 hour mark, man. We're at 1 hour 15 minutes. This could be
really? I'm probably not gonna do 2 hours, but
no.
Unless you got some questions, ask away. 2 hours is a long time. I got shit to do, Mike. I gotta make money.
You don't have 45 more minutes?
I don't know, maybe. Let it happen naturally, you know?
Let's let it happen naturally. So
exactly.
Yeah. So wait, hold on.
I also feel like we've done long shows, and I generally do like them, but I also feel like people might be turned off by longer shows. Yeah. And I remember fairly recently, we did a Jack Kirby episode that was like almost 2 hours long, and I put up a poll, and I was like, "Hey guys, listeners, like, what do you think? Do you like the longer episodes, or would you prefer them to be kind of more compact and shorter?" And it was a mix. It was pretty much half and half.
Yeah.
Like some people said, well, I listen on my commute. So when my commute's only 45 minutes, so I don't get to listen to the whole thing. And other people were like, I love the long episodes. I just love to hear you guys talk. So we generally try to cut the difference. An hour and a half, like, to me, like, that's good. Sometimes Chris will cut the show short. It's like, all right, well, time to go. Well, that was the Hoof. And I'm like, yo, what are we doing? We're in a good groove here. But he's got something to do, or he's got to rush off or whatever. So it happens. But
just let me know when we go. I do have like about a couple more questions left, and I feel like these are pretty stacked questions. So what TV shows, Marvel and Star Wars, are you anticipating? Start with Marvel.
Oh man, so I'm gonna watch anything that Marvel puts out, especially on the Disney Plus. I watched the Netflix shows. There's a couple I never even watched, not because I wasn't interested, just because I never got to it, And I have to go back and watch them because I loved season 1 and 3 of Daredevil. Were fantastic. Season 1.
I got season 3 and 1 are like tied. as my favorite thing ever made by Marvel in terms of ever made by Marvel. Like just anything
I would agree.
Is ever made.
I definitely think that first season of Daredevil was one of the best things that Marvel Studios put out. Excellent. Season 2 was okay. Season 3 was better than season 2. Maybe not as good as season 1, but definitely a big improvement from 2. But I never watched the Punisher show, and I'm a huge Punisher fan. I never watched Luke Cage, and I'm a big Luke Cage Power Man fan. And I never watched what's the one where they're all together? The Defenders. Just never watched them. I just never got around to it.
Defenders was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll definitely watch them at some point. I just have to catch up. So
Iron Fist was pretty good.
Yeah, I'll watch it eventually.
The first season, because a lot of people hate it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything good about it, but I'm still gonna watch it. But I think because Disney Plus releases them one a week, it's easier to stay on top of. You know, like I'll never fall behind because I have a whole week to watch the episode before the next episode comes. You know,
people are often intimidated by binge watching, and like I'm never probably gonna watch Game of Thrones. Maybe, but it's real. It's a huge maybe. It's like Friends. Like, am I gonna? No, I'm not gonna watch all of Friends.
Oh, fuck Friends. But I agree with you there. Like when you know there's 20 something episodes of a show per season. And then you're behind 5 seasons. It's like, man, I'm never gonna watch this shit. 100 episodes of a fucking show. Like it's easier to stay on top of it while they're coming out. And I think that's the benefit of like The Mandalorian. Like every week you were on top of it because it was one a week. You could easily stay on top of it, watch it, enjoy it, and you actually look forward to the next week. I enjoy the binge watching, especially when you get into a show and you fucking knock it all out in hours. But I also think there's something to be said about the weekly shows.
It's better with friends though. Come on, like binge watching, like you got like you got a buddy over. Like I watched I was with my friend for like 12 hours hanging out with him, and we watched the first season of True Detective, which is one of my favorite shows. Yeah. It's like one of my favorite like creations, visual, like any creation ever, like is the first season of True Detective. It's
really good.
I've seen that first season of it probably 5 times.
Really? So let me ask you. So obviously you're a big fan of that season. You weren't disappointed when they found out who the actual killer was? I was.
Oh yeah, they could have done something better, but I still love like the build up to things. I'd agree the build up's way better than the payoff in the show. Yeah. But I still love the show. Like I just love those conversations that they have. These like that make me contemplate like anything, man. Like I like shit that makes me contemplate like certain things in existence.
There was definitely a very philosophical tinge to those guys, especially the Matthew McConaughey's character.
My favorite when Matthew McConaughey's at the church retreat and he's like, "What do you think the average IQ here is, Marty?" And I'm like, dude, that's so mean, but like I get it. Like
I liked season 2. I know people didn't like it. I thought it was good. I haven't seen the third one.
I never got in. I watched like the first episode of season 2 and I didn't finish it. I want to, but like I want to. I will maybe, but I think I got HBO Max. You know.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely should. I think people were turned off the fact that Vince Vaughn was supposed to be this serious guy, but Vince Vaughn was a serious actor for a long time before he was known for comedy. You know, he did a lot of drama stuff, and I thought he was good in it. You know,
now he's back in the serious route. Have you seen Dragged Across Concrete?
A good movie, a little long.
I don't know. I feel like it justified the run time. And then what I loved is that Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn, they played
against the character, yeah.
They weren't even the protagonist, even though the mainly followed him was the gentleman.
The black kid. I forget his name, yeah.
Man, I'm looking up the Wikipedia for this. I don't care.
I'm real interested. Names.
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about though, the black guy, right? The black guy who's like started the movie and then he comes back in the end of the movie, right? The dude who was in. I don't want to say too much if people haven't seen it, but I liked that movie. I thought it was good. I liked that guy's other 2 movies.
Or Henry Johns, the
rapper. Wasn't he like a rapper or something in the show?
Not in the movie. He was in a Get Rich or Die Trying, the 50 Cent movie, but
he was.
Yeah. Nah, but like the whole like Michael J. White character, Jennifer Carpenter was in it. There's so much. I love that movie so much, but and the characters with the black mask and the black gloves, like the creepy character.
Yeah, creepy.
I love that guy as well.
Did you see what was it called? Fight in Cell Block 99?
Brawl in Cell Block 99. Nah, I want it so badly. I love that director though. Steven S. Craig Zahler. He did Bone Tomahawk.
Excellent.
Oh my goodness.
Bone Tomahawk is fucking great. And I'm a big Western fan. So like I think that movie is good. You know? I think that movie is really good as a Western. And then when they get to the weird parts of it, you know the parts I'm talking about. I don't want to say too much.
The throat whistle.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that shit. Oh my god.
When they get to that stuff, the movie takes a whole different wacky fucking turn, and it gets even better than it was. And I'm a big fan of Kurt Russell, so I was like, I'm in, you know. Kurt Russell, great cast in that movie.
I want to interview that director. Holy shit, I'm in the mood. I'm gonna find out his contact info. I don't care.
And you got to tell them that you're fucking 17 too. They'll eat that shit up. These guys, like, oh, cool, a cool young guy. I'll let him interview me. Yeah.
I don't put that information out there that much.
You should, man, because I think it's impressive to me that you're the age that you're at and you're doing all this shit. And I think it would be impressive to other people too.
Yeah,
you know,
like
someone might be more
filmmaker who makes like these gangster movies, like Michael Matteo Rossi. I told him that at the off camera at the end of the interview, and he was like, "Oh shit." You're fine, bro.
Exactly.
Like you're gonna get
If
you want to make movies, dude, you're already making the connections and shit. Like
exactly. That's why I think it's impressive.
That's what I want to do though. Like I love like interacting with the people like off camera. Like I interviewed this one guy, Seth Ott. He runs a show with Cody Michael. People out of Iowa. One guy's in Oregon, one guy's in Iowa, but they used to be roommates and shit. So he like writes screenplays, and during the interview I was like, I know you mainly do the podcast stuff, but tell me about the screenplays you write. And he like gave me like the whole pitch of all the stuff he wrote, all this cool stuff. And then off camera I was like, dude, one day, man, if I ever get a lot of money, I'm gonna produce your movie because you're a great guy, man. And I love to like, I don't know, I hope to like, if I interview someone, get them an extra, you know what I mean?
Yeah, do it. I think it's cool, man. You're doing good stuff. All right, what other kind of questions we have here?
Yeah, we're gonna wrap this up. What information would you like to tell anybody who's a fan of your podcast or work before we wrap this up?
All right. I think we do fun shows. I think if you have any interest in comic books or pop culture, and even pop culture related to comic books, which is a lot these days with all the movies and TV shows and whatnot, come check out Jack's Kirby. I think you'll like it. I like that show because it's informative, but it's also a lot of fun. Like we tell all sorts of jokes and not safe for work kind of humor that we interject into the show. That's also very, well informed and informative. It's kind of like it's educational as well as entertaining. That's the way I like to kind of describe that show. So if that's your kind of thing, check it out. Even if you're not that into comic books, I would say give it a listen anyway, because we talk about movies, we talk about a lot of shit. So it's cool.
If a new comic book movie would come out, or a sort of form of media related to a comic book,
yes. So a lot of times,
that.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of times we'll do that. Like when before the Captain Marvel movie came out, we did an episode about the Skrulls, and the Skrulls are the aliens in that movie, and they were created by Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. So we're like, this is a great opportunity. I'm waiting for that
Secret Invasion, man.
The movie, it's coming.
That's what I hope is the next Thanos. Are the Skrulls or the Skrull Queen or something?
I think they're eventually going to get there. I think they're kind of going to be introducing this multiverse stuff first.
Yeah.
I think that's the route they're going, and then they're going to bring in some more space shit with the Fantastic Four and Galactus and stuff like that. Kang the Conqueror. So I think there's a lot of cool shit coming in the pike in the Marvel stuff. So again, if you're interested in that shit, listen to that show because we talk about this kind of shit. And as far as the Hoof, that's more of a little more conversational kind of. It could go anywhere. We just tell stories about our lives, and Chris and I know each other in a very interesting way. That we, you know, I knew him from that Tell Him Steve Dave podcast, and when I reached out to him to talk about art because he was doing this art thing for a while, we learned that our grandfathers were best friends. I knew his grandfather growing up, like I knew his name. He was here all the time. His grandfather's name was synonymous with like my grandfather. They knew each other. They knew each other their whole lives. So when we had made that discovery, I think we connected very quickly because of that. I had been at Chris's house in the 80s, like swimming in his pool, didn't even know it. So cool. That's why like the tagline for that show is two guys with family ties, because like we have that connection. This is pretty cool. Like my grandfather is the godmother to his aunt, like just to give you an idea of like the connection. It's pretty cool. So me and Chris are very different in our approach, where I'm kind of like, I'm a little more open and loud,
extroverted with your content, but he is more like secluded and more secure with the thing because of past experience and also certain occupations.
Because he works, he has a certain job that he's in the public, he works for the public, and I also don't care, like I have nothing to lose. So there's that. It's a cool dynamic that we have. And people are always like, oh, you guys are such opposites, but really we're not. But it just comes off that way on the show because I'm willing to talk about a lot more stuff than he is, because he has, because of his job and because of his home life and whatnot, things that I don't have. So I don't care, so it's definitely a fun show. Sometimes it's not so fun, which I also kind of like about it. Sometimes it's, we talk about real things like depression and family stuff and things that might not always be, even the politics stuff comes up sometimes, like things that might not always be fun per se, but we always find some kind of humor in everything. That's kind of the only way you could.
It's not too.
It's the only way you could get by in life. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's serious, but it's also like I'm very much a believer in the healing power of humor, the healing power of laughter. I'm like the Joker in the Batman movie, and I think it's important, it's, when you talk to people like we do, and you're meeting people and learning about people, and you're kind of digging a little deeper than what's on the surface. Not everything is going to be rainbows and puppy dogs, like things are going to be a little sad sometimes, or a little honest, maybe too honest, and that's life. And I think that's what I like about that show. It's like a fairly accurate depiction of life, and the more people you get to talk to, the more you realize like, oh, we all kind of share the same experiences and have the same thoughts and the same concerns and so on and so forth, but it's funny too. I make a lot of jokes about jerking off and stuff.
That's beautiful, man. Dude, this is a great one, man. I'm gonna end the recording in a couple of seconds. Do my little outro. Thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Mike. I really appreciate it.
That was another episode of Hass Discusses. Leave a rating on Apple Podcasts, and if you're on YouTube, leave a like and subscribe and all that jazz. And thanks for listening to Hass Discusses, man. This is another great episode. Links to his content, YouTube, I mean Instagram and Apple Podcasts and stuff like that. And also I'll be sure to leave a link to his other podcasts as well, because besides the Hoof, he does the other one we obviously talked about a lot in the show, Jack the Kirby. Thank you for listening or watching. Goodbye.
Cool. Mike.